What's up, guys and gals? It's time for another review for Record of Ragnarok, also known as Shuumatsu no Valkyrie, Chapter 105, on time, well, a few days late, but on time for me, and also the official end of Round 11, and I've had to, now this will be a re-recording, because unfortunately, if you didn't catch my last video, OBS, the program that I use to record, kind of screwed up. And I had to basically delete everything and rebuild everything from scratch. That's why if you're seeing a problem with quality, motion, color, anything like that, it's something that I'm slowly but surely tweaking. And your input is very much appreciated. If you guys could let me know what differences, like in the negatory, are from my previous videos, so I can try to correct these new ones, because I basically had to rebuild all my settings and all my properties and stuff from scratch, sort of idea. Unfortunately, but it happens. Anyways, we are here for Chapter 105 of Record of Ragnarok, and I'm going to be honest with you. I like that Round 11 was short, because relatively speaking, I haven't done a page-by-page, chapter-by-chapter tally here, but I would argue this is a relatively short, with two backstories, by the way, including the backstories. This is a relatively short round, but I have been asking for short rounds that make sense for a while now. You know what I mean? Like the Lubu Thor round was short because even though Lubu actually made Thor try and go all out, it was it was bloody, it was brutal, and to my mind, still some of the best art in the series was round 1. However, at the end of the day, it was relatively short and it was over. You know what I mean? And if no other fight is going to be short, then this is the one to do it. The sniper battle, because snipers are a one-shot deal. They're supposed to be, right? So this actually makes sense that even with all the trickery and tomfoolery to draw it out of Loki, at the end of the day, it's going to come down, especially where our sniper boy here is on a time limit, considering he's sacrificing his own organs to take every single shot. So he was going to run out of organs or just croak from not having any organs left, you know, in a couple more shots anyways. So I'm glad at the pacing, the speed, and the just the overall vibe that this round gave us. I will say that. So there is an issue here, though. In this chapter specifically, they're adding a hell of a lot of fluff. You know what I mean? In the same way that Beelzebub got like 107 pages of backstory that literally doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is this chapter could have been about 19 pages and we would have gotten the exact same amount of content. Because what they do is, what I mean by fluff, is they sort of add on all this extra stuff that we don't need. Sort of like the skip recap option on like Netflix or streaming series or what have you, right? They do this. So you, if you're binge watching, or you remember what happened last week, let's say, you know, you try to make it episodic for yourself, like a weekly, like sit down with the wife, have a glass of wine, and you want to watch the latest episode instead of just sitting there binging. Even if you do that, if you've got the last episode in your mind, you don't really need the 3-minute recap, do you? So you skip that. Same with hitting the skip intro if you're on a bit of a schedule, right? You just do it. Or if you don't like the song, if you do like the song, you don't skip it. You know, I know there's memes about that. My point is, the first 20 pages of this chapter, out of this 40-odd pages, are literally just recap. They're feeling like recap. They're adding the fluff. Like, we have Jack at the beginning, and I love Jack. You guys know Jack is one of the best living characters with some of the best character development in Record of Ragnarok. I got a lot of good affinity for Jack, so anytime Jack's on screen, I'm like, yeah, let's go. However, he is literally just sitting there monologuing for like 5 pages, for the 3 or 4 pages, about, yes, round 11, well, let me pour this cup of tea and tell you all about it. Round 11, well, let me tell you a tale, because round 11 ended here. Round 11, in fact, 7 seconds. These 7 seconds, less than 8 seconds, were some of the craziest 8 seconds you'll ever, trust me. I mean, well, we're going to get to it, but trust me, you know what I mean? Like, he's literally, like, giving us the skip recap option here, but just done in a different way. And then following up that would be okay in and of itself. I would not mind that. That wouldn't bother me. And honestly, this doesn't bother me as a whole. I'm just saying that for a round that obviously had such good pacing and like, we're going to do this quick. This is a sniper battle. This is this, that, the other thing. They really tried to bulk up this chapter, knowing that it was going to end. There wasn't a whole lot. This was the final confrontation, and boom, we're done. Do you know what I mean? I could argue there could have been a couple more things, maybe maybe we could have moved part of Loki's like story or flashback into one last scene with Brunhilde when she's smiling. We could have added like 3 pages of that to bulk it up or something. But obviously, when you're on a monthly release, you can't release like an 18, 19 page chapter. It's got to be roughly 38 plus pages, I'm sure. I'm sure there's some sort of arbitrary number that they have to meet. Otherwise they're just like, no, we'll wait for you to make the next chapter and we'll combine the two sort of idea, right? So fact of the matter is that's what they're doing here. They're talking all about Jack goes through the entirety of that, and then right after that we're back where we ended at the end of the last chapter in chapter 104. We're starting this arbitrary timer of 7 seconds and 49 milliseconds or whatever it is, and we see everything from every angle possible. Well, we spend 3 pages getting us back to the exact same position we were, and now Loki is monologuing inside of Heracles' body again. Now, here's where the new piece of information goes. So once again, I think you could compartmentalize this, but this is the new piece of information. It's exactly what I was worried about, that I'm kind of like, but the fact that it still didn't matter in the end result, when you really consider it, I mean, Simon took a little bit of damage, but in the end result of this chapter and the round, since it didn't matter, it's not so egregious, but I really didn't like the idea of, okay, he's in Heracles' body, and obviously he hit the vitals of Heracles, but Loki's actual body is not Heracles' body, so he missed Loki's vitals, still hit Loki, but he missed Loki's vitals and hit Heracles' vitals. So, okay, yeah, it's exactly how I thought it was and what I theorized last chapter. But once again, because it ends and that didn't really change the difference of the outcome of the fight, it's not as egregious as I was worried about it becoming when I theorized it last chapter review. So, but then after getting that information, we go back into the entire plan since the tree all over again. So now we're recapping chapter 104 in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Like, this is how many pages I'm going down. I'm literally scrolling. We spend 10 pages at the very least just recapping from different angles what happened in chapter 104 from Loki's perspective. But did we actually need this, is my point. Like, this is when I'm talking about fluffing it up, because at the end of the day, there was nothing left to say. Because when we finally get back to the action of this chapter and stuff like that, it's literally only been 1 second and 24 milliseconds. Things are about to finally change. We get something different in the form of the fact that Loki has also overtaken, with the eyes, he's overtaken one of the crows for a bird's eye view. He's got his clone and Thor rushing. He's still in Heracles' body and stuff. And Simon is not taking his eyes or his loaded gun off of the corpse of Heracles. And I like this aspect. Once again, I might have been complaining this whole time, but this chapter is fine. Because the pacing of the round is good. This chapter ends in a good way, and and it matches both characters. It's just, it's fluffed up by all these excess pages that realistically, if this was a weekly manga, they would cut out the first 24 pages of this chapter with ease and just release the last 15 to 16 pages and call that the end of round 11. You know what I mean? Like, we would not have Jack, we wouldn't have any of Loki explaining for the 5th time in this round how he's going to kill the sniper. Do you know what I mean? So it's definitely bulked up, but when we finally get to it, I love this because Loki can't understand it. He cannot. He's like, but wait, he's got because he's got the bird's eye view, and he's obviously, the real him is inside of Heracles' body and stuff like that, and he's got his clones running at the backside of him. He's like, why isn't he turning around to meet the threat? Why is he still aiming the gun at me? Like, I don't understand. Ares is complaining the same thing and stuff, and he's like, did did he figure it out? But how? How did he notice that I'm the real one? Like, what is going on? What did I miss? Like, he's playing this like a chess match. And with the birds, I love when he asks that question. The dialogue matches the panels and the bird's eye view perspective, because he's up here looking at the whole battlefield and like a chess match, and not understanding how he's losing. Why isn't the opponent doing exactly what the opponent should do? This is making no sense. What did I not factor in? What did I miscalculate? Sort of like an L versus light Death Note sort of idea, right? And I really like that, especially with the panel as that dialogue's going, with the bird's eye perspective from the crow or the raven up in the sky. That's really cool. So this is where Simon sacrifices his pancreas. And he just tells Loki, whether Loki hears it or not, I'm not sure, but he says, I will never mistake the pain of taking a life. So he knows. So there are a couple of avenues to look at it this way, is that he can, since he's already killed fakes and clones, he obviously knows the difference, right? So I would argue that those clones are not a true life. And Simon has the sixth sense to recognize that after killing so many people with one shot. And he knows the difference. And this is not something new in anything kind of a little bit on the darker side of fiction. And sometimes, true stories with some embellishment by Hollywood or novelists or what have you. Is that some people get a sixth sense for that stuff. Is like they stab him. It's like, nah, he ain't dead. I'll be able to tell if my blow rung true, sort of idea, and I know when it. You know what I mean? They get that fighter's instinct, that killer's instinct, sort of idea. So he knows for a fact. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that I won't even bother with the second option, because I don't think it's viable. I think the first option is the only option here, is that he's already fired on the clones and the fakes and the illusions, and those aren't lives. And so he can tell the difference between firing on a clone and not. And the fact is, he did hit Loki, but he didn't kill Loki. So as a result, he knows there's something different about that Heracles copy, because he knows he hit reality, like he knows he hit real flesh for the first time, but he knows he didn't finish the job. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the way that I'm taking it. And immediately he's like, yeah, no, I know that everything behind me is fake. I know for a fact that shot felt weird. That shot felt off. And so he knows it. And Loki didn't factor that in, so he jumps from the Heracles body to the crow. The Heracles body obviously dissipates completely. He comes away. He goes for the kill shot. Everyone watches as Loki manifests from the crow, from the raven, and is going forth with his, death scythe sort of idea, his chain kunai sort of idea. And he goes forward, and then boom, sniping against the gods was already on its way, because Simon had turned, not even registering the Loki and the Thor rushing at him, had turned and fired, and immediately that was it. It went straight between the eye. And of course, a sniper of his caliber was never going to miss his mark, and boom, 748. Loki here at the end. I made a really good point in my last record, and I can't remember it. I recorded it yesterday, and because of the OBS problems, it all got corrupted and fucked up and stuff, and I wasn't able to use it. So I can't remember exactly what I said about this, but I do like the fact that at the end of the day, Loki might have been obsessed and possessive and a lot of bad things, but at the end of the day, he truly was moved by Brunhilde and Brunhilde's smile, and in his own way, he did actually love her. It just that love, as I said, love is like a coin, and there is a very easy way to flip that coin from heads to tails. And what's the width of any coin is very, very thin. So the difference between true love and possession, obsession, and the negative connotations in love, and unrequited love, of course, is generally going to flip that coin. So I don't believe that Loki didn't have genuine, true feelings for Brunhilde when he first met, and with the watermelon and all that stuff. I believe she did move his heart and stuff like that, and I don't think this was misplaced love or anything like that. No, he did love her. It was unrequited love, and he couldn't accept that, so that's when the coin flipped. That's when he did the shit with Siegfried. That's when he did everything that he could and stuff like that. So at this point, he just realized, and this monologue speaks to that effect, to that defense, is that the time you smiled at me and every time since then, it just made me really happy. And I always, always just wanted to tell you that I love you. And that was the end. And at 7 seconds and 49 milliseconds, that is the end of the fight. And Brunhilde is actually looking on like she's not happy about this either, because she's got her hands clapped. She's in the praying mode. You can already tell that her makeup or whatever, like the mascara and stuff, like it's starting to red around the bottom of the eyes and stuff like that. And everyone's shocked by the outcome. Simon does take the hit with the scythe. Looks a lot worse, actually. The scythe hit looks a lot worse initially when it cuts his hat off and stuff. I'm like, that looks like some Whitebeard level injury. But no, it did just slice side of him. Now, granted, Simon he kneels and says, 543 as he collapses, because he just gave up like a quarter of his major organs. Do you know what I mean? Like, he was giving up some major organs there. So he's definitely not long for it, but this is his atonement almost for all the lives he's took. And so this is where the greatest sniper in history changed his kill count to 543, and hopefully he's atoned the pain in his own heart and stuff like that by doing this, by trying to save humanity through his methods, through his skill set. Now, maybe he can gain the forgiveness of those other 542 people. Do you know what I mean? Like, maybe that's what he's sort of hoping for, but the agony in his heart has maybe finally been lifted just a little bit. So it's a nice ending for both characters in a sense, because Brunhilde is there, like, we don't see, her eyes are shadowed, but she's weeping, she's crying. For Loki, obviously, even though Simon won, and that is the end of the round, that is the end of the fight. Now, the big thing, as I said, for me, is that both characters, this round, even though this chapter had a lot of fluff to it, like the first, as I said, 20 odd pages, like half of the chapter, it's just recapping what we've already seen, what we already know, right? But at the end of the day, we also have the fact that both characters were already completed. You know what I mean? We didn't need all this excess backstory stuff. Loki's already made sense. He has an unrequited love with Brunhilde, and it was never going to be succeeded anyways. And he made some mistakes, and now he's sort of in his own way sort of paying for them. And though Brunhilde was never going to fall in love with Loki in that sense, she understood Loki to a degree, and now Loki can finally be laid to rest, because Loki was never going to find his happiness in that regard. He wasn't happy before he met Brunhilde. He was happy in that small amount of time before she met Siegfried. And now he was always going to be obsessive and stuff, like Heracles say, why do you look so miserable, Loki? Loki's been miserable ever since, and so this is almost like it's okay to finally rest sort of idea. So Loki's story comes full circle and is now complete. Simon's was so simple that it doesn't need to be overlayered by an extra like 40 pages of backstory to be understood. He simply was a sniper of renowned skill who never wanted to hurt anybody, and he takes in all that death, and it ate away at his soul. It ate away at him, and now this to him is his atonement, his redemption to being a part of those over 500 people I killed has all led to this match where I need to be the one to help save the future of humanity. So maybe in some small way, I can atone for my own sins in killing these 542 people by winning this one match. You know what I mean? So both characters come full circle, complete. Not saying they're the most interesting or the best written characters in Ragnarok, but they're also not one-wood instruments either. They're completely three-dimensional. Their stories make sense. It's just, it's simple. And simple writing doesn't necessarily mean bad writing. So I really like this round. I like the chapter, even with all its fluff. I just think it's an excessive amount, because the chapter could have ended in like 18 pages pretty quickly. But other than that, this, round 11 was as fast as I wanted it to be. It ended the way I thought it was going to end, with Simon being the victor. And it also just... I thought Loki's powers were a little convoluted at times, but overall they were pretty straightforward to follow. And at the end of the day, round 11, nothing really... I doubt it'll ever be anybody's favorite round, but it's certainly never going to be at the bottom rounds. Do you know what I mean? When people make their tier lists, I think this will always just be middle of the pack. This round is not great. This round is not bad. This round 11 is average. Round 11 was good, not great. You know what I mean? And that's at least my take on it. What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comment section down below. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe as always. And we'll be back here for chapter 106. Hopefully next time my recording software won't decide to, kick the bucket all of a sudden for 3 days while I figure out how to get it all back, and then have to rebuild all the settings and stuff, which where I have so many different graphics and different reviews and content and stuff like that, it's definitely a thing, right? So anyways, that's it from me, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. Once again, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back here for chapter 106 when it drops. I doubt that we're gonna actually start round 12 until chapter 108. I think 106 and 107, where we're coming down to the wire. I think we have at least one full chapter. Maybe go back to Tartarus and talk with Siegfried a little bit more. Some stuff with Odin. Obviously, Buddha and Brunhilde are going to talk a little bit now. Is Buddha now going to be the advisor? Where Goal is now in Tartarus. Is Buddha going to be there when Brunhilde decides like her selection and hold her hand during this whole... Who knows? Who knows? But I still think 106 and at least the majority of 107 is going to be that in-between part. And is Hermes finally going to make his move? Are we going to see something? I'm waiting for that thing from Hermes, because I think Hermes knows something. I think Hermes is one of the people who knows that this is not the real Odin and shit. You know what I mean? I think Hermes is definitely involved in some respect. But anyways, what do you guys think? We'll see you guys back here next time. Have a good one. Sayonara.